what?
Hunter Cooper. May I proceed?
You may.
Good morning. Please introduce yourself for the jury.
My name is Hunter Cooper.
What do you do for a living, Miss Cooper?
Well, I started off being a janitor at a detention center because, of course, that's 1.7 GPA I got from Yoshigako. It didn't serve me for anything. I didn't get my dream job of being a screenwriter for Disney World. But thank God, now I'm fully dedicated to my research on Alex Grace, and it is nothing but professional.
So where exactly do you work?
Well, I work on set at Midlands Television Studios, usually during Alex's rehearsals, because at that time, no audience is blocking my view for a good old research. Hey, I can tell you.
You mentioned Alex Grace. How do you know Alex?
I've known Alex since my time working as a Hollywood tour guide. Back then, she was a really famous actress in Los Angeles. And then, I'm fortunate enough that I attend her rehearsals for research on her.
What do you know why you're here today?
I saw that horrible chimpanzee attack during the rehearsals on June 29th. It was horrible.
Were you there on set at MTS that day?
Oh yes, I was very excited for the show because I thought it was going to be wild. Like a hairy and huge chimpanzee. I only see that kind of stuff on National Geographic.
Who else was there?
The animal trainer. What's his name? Oh, it's him, Danny Kosak. Yeah.
How was Danny like on set?
Well, I could tell that he really didn't belong to MTS. Usually the set is very chilled and laid back. But since the moment he stepped in on the set, he was running around and complaining about so many things. He was being strict about everything.
What was he complaining about?
He was complaining about the food being set up in the open and too close to the set. He also
Objection, hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, this statement isn't being... she wasn't... I apologize. Miss Hunter Cooper wasn't saying a direct statement from Miss Jane Kozak. She was just saying that she heard that she was complaining.
Remind me who was allegedly complaining?
Danny Kosak.
I asked her what was Danny complaining about.
Your Honor,
Yes.
this is hearsay. They are using it for the truth of the matter asserted, and that truth is that Danny was complaining.
Any final response?
Your Honor, she wasn't. She didn't say that Danny Kozak complained, saying something. She just said that Danny Kozak complained.
I would like to correct Ms. Young. She was saying exactly what Danny Kosak was complaining about.
Yeah, I'm gonna sustain the objection.
So did Dan? Moving on. Did Alex respond to any of Danny's complaints?
Yeah, I heard Alex saying something. Alex kept asking how much interaction was possible with the chimpanzee, and then I could tell Danny was really angry because he kept repeating and yelling if Alex read the guidelines or not.
And how did Danny Kozak respond?
Objection, hearsay.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Sure.
If I may proffer,
Mm-hmm.
Ms. Hunter Cooper will say that Danny Kozak said that all members should abide by these guidelines, including you. And if I may respond to that objection, if there was hearsay, I would say that it's not being offered for the truth, it's being offered for the effect of Melissa.
Okay, what's the effect on Melissa?
That there were guidelines and Danny was, Alex Grace was aware of these guidelines.
Okay. Response?
The listener in this case is both Hunter Cooper and Alex Grace. And the truth of the matter asserted is that Danny Kosak was concerned about the guidelines being followed. They are using that for the truth of the matter asserted, and it is still hearsay.
I'll overrule the objection this time. I'll issue a limiting instruction to the jury, instructing the jury to only take this statement for the effect on the listener, namely that Ms. Grace was on notice that there were these statements or these guidelines. Any arguments by counsel beyond that would be improper.
So how did Ms. Alex Grace respond to Danny's complaints?
She said something like,
How did Danny respond to Alex's?
well, he said something like, yeah, he's trained, but it's still an animal, and everyone should follow the guidelines, including you, Alex.
And was he complaining about anything else?
I re-raise my objection to hearsay. We did not hear the effect on Alex Grace. They simply used that statement for the truth of the matter asserted. It is still hearsay.
Response?
Your Honor, this is being used for the truth of the matter to show that this is being used not for the truth of the matter. Miss Hunter Cooper, if I may proffer, will say that Alex Grace did not follow his guidelines.
Then I would implore you, Your Honor, to encourage opposing counsel to get to that point without using hearsay statements.
Okay. Counsel, I think you can get out the fact that these guidelines were violated. I mean, we've got a copy of the guidelines in evidence here with us today. I think you can get out any violations of the guidelines without necessarily using hearsay statements. So I'm going to sustain the objection, but I very much sympathize with the issue you have here.
If I may respond to that.
Oh, of course, yes, absolutely.
This is an exception to hearsay pursuant to Rule 802.3. These are the then existing mental, emotional, or physical conditions. This statement was made right when she saw the conditions of the guidelines.
So the condition of the guidelines. Remind me the exact statement you're talking about again here.
That the animal was well trained, but it's still an animal, and that everyone should follow the guidelines, including Alex Grace.
That is not a statement on mental condition. It talks about no feelings, no motive, nothing that is within Rule 802.3 that would follow, that would use that exception.
May I confirm with counsel?
Of course.
May I respond?
Yes.
I'd like to change that exception, not that existing mental, emotional, or physical condition, but rather 803.1, present sense impression,
Okay. How so?
as that he was explaining an event or condition immediately after Alex Grace was asking if he could violate these guidelines in touch or interact with the children.
May I be heard?
Sure.
This statement is not a present sense impression either. Present sense impression would be something like seeing a car run a red light and exclaiming, "Wow, that car went fast."
Wouldn't that be an excited utterance?
You're right, as well as it being a present sense impression. It was made at the time. These statements are no impression of what was happening. It was a statement.
This isn't being offered for the truth, it's being offered for the recognition.
I'm going to sustain the objection. I think you can still try to get out any violations of the guidelines without necessarily going in through hearsay. So I will sustain it for now. But if you can lay foundation for any hearsay exceptions or anything like that, we can certainly try again if you'd like.
So were you there on set the day of the attack?
Yes, I was.
And did you notice any, did you see Miss Alex Grace reaching to touch the chimpanzee?
Yes, actually, the chimpanzee was sitting on a chair next to Alex Grace, and then suddenly Alex leaned forward and then touched and almost like reached out to touch Elias, the chimpanzee. And then suddenly, like I started hearing those noises like ooh 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 ah 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 hee, and I was so scared. Like the chimpanzee was starting to show off his big ugly yellow teeth, and I was oh la la, no.
And what happened? What happened? What happened? I apologize. What happened after he reached in to touch the chimpanzee?
The chimpanzee just jumped off his chair and then ran towards a group of writers who were standing on the set, and then the chimpanzee attacked Chris. Oh my god, poor Chris. Wallah, he didn't deserve anything of that.
So did Alex Grace reach out to the chimpanzee?
Yes, he did. And then Alex, and now Chris Vilfana is dead forever.
No further questions.
As opposed to oh boy. Speaking of killing things, I think he killed the plaintiff.
Alright, any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor.
Alex Grace just died.
Intentional infliction of emotional distress.
I'm just getting this on camera right now.
You may proceed when ready.
Thank you. Miss Cooper, you always attend rehearsals, isn't that right?
I do research regularly, yes.
You'd say your observations are always spot on.
Yes, indeed. I have good observation skills.
Well, I'd like to talk about what you did observe on June 29th. When you came to the set, you saw Danny Kosak.
Yes, I did, yes.
When you saw Danny Kosak, he seemed fidgety and angry.
Yes, yeah, because so many things were on the set, and then they were against the guidelines.
So that's a yes, he seemed fidgety and angry?
Yes.
Objection, speculation.
I asked what the witness what she thought he seemed like. It's her opinion.
What about her opinion makes it admissible?
It is her present sense impression. Excuse me. It is based on rationally based perception that she saw him and she understood that he seemed fidgety and angry.
This would be a lay opinion rationally based on her perception.
That is right.
Okay, response?
Opposing counsel can, the witness can explain how she was acting, but she can't conclude that she was agitated.
I think this is a valid lay opinion, so I'll overrule it. If you want to go on redirect, if you want to clarify on redirect what she may or may not have known, you're certainly more than welcome to do that.
When you saw Alex Grace on set, or Danny Kosak on set, you did more than see him act. You heard him say something, didn't you?
Yeah, he was complaining about stuff being not about guidelines being not followed.
Well, you actually heard Danny Kosak mumble to himself, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
You heard Danny Kosak say, "Maybe it's too soon."
Yeah, he said something like this. Yeah.
You heard him say, "Thank God no one will be there for the rehearsal."
I didn't know what he meant by that.
Well, you heard him say, "Grace deserves whatever Grace gets," right?
Yeah, I did.
Well, I'd like to move on and talk about something else you heard from Danny Kosak. You went to Chris Villafana's funeral, didn't you?
Yes, I would. Yeah, I went there.
You heard Danny Kosak apologize for what Elias had done.
Yeah.
You also heard Danny Kosak say that he never should have been so far away from Elias when it was something new to Elias.
Yeah, he said something like that.
I'd also like to talk about what the staff of Midlands Television Studios did on June 29th. It's your opinion that the staff complied with everything that Danny Kosak demanded.
Well, they moved the food 15 minutes before the chain came into the show. After Danny was complaining about the food being set on the set.
Well, is that a yes to my question? That the staff complied with everything Danny Kosak demanded?
They complied with the food being moved out of the
I'm not asking about the food, I'm asking about everything. The staff at Midlands Television Studios complied with everything that Danny Kosak demanded.
Yeah, sure, I guess.
No further questions.
Redirect?
Yes, Your Honor. Ms. Cooper, you weren't aware of any of those statements made by that Mr. Danny Kosak mumbled under his breath, right?
I heard he saying something to himself.
But you didn't know what that meant.
No, I didn't know what he meant by those.
And did the MTS staff comply to the rules or the guidelines that Mr. Danny Kosak set before or after he complained?
Objection, lack of personal knowledge.
Your Honor, may I respond?
Sure.
I'm just asking if the MTS staff complied to any of the complaints that she heard Mr. Kosak make before or after they were made.
Ms. Young asked about the guidelines. Hunter Cooper cannot testify to the knowledge of MTS employees for that guideline.
Your Honor, may I rephrase my question?
Let's see. Counsel, I think your last question that you asked opened the door to this by saying that they complied with his every demand. I think, complying with the guidelines is essentially a part of the demand. So I think that sort of opens the door to this line of questioning. So I'll let the questioning stand as is.
Yes, Your Honor.
Ms. Cooper, based on your knowledge and what you saw that day, did the staff of MTS comply to all of the rules that Mr. Danny Kosak said before or after he complained?
No, because there was so much movement in the set, and the food was there.
I'm asking, did MTS follow the rules before or after Mr. Danny Kosak responded? Before or after?
Objection, lack of personal knowledge. How would Hunter Cooper know when MTS followed these rules?
Your Honor, may I
Scott,
respond?
you're certainly more than welcome to raise that issue on recross if you so choose.
Yes, Your Honor.
Did you see Mr. Danny Kosak complaining to the MTS staff?
Yes, I saw him.
And did they comply to the rules after he complained or before?
After he complained?
No further questions.
Any recross?
Yes, Your Honor. You remember giving an affidavit for today's testimony?
Yes.
You would recognize that affidavit if I showed it to you today?
Yes.
I'm approaching opposing counsel with the witness's affidavit. May I approach the witness?
Amen.
This is your affidavit, right?
Mm-hmm.
On that last page is your signature,
Yes.
and it's fair and accurate to the best of your knowledge.
Yes.
I'd like you to look with me to line 70. Are you there?
Yes.
Please read along silently as I read aloud. Of course, the staff complied with everything that COSAC demanded. Did I read that correctly?
Yes.
No further questions.
I don't think this jurisdiction permits a redirect, but
It-
I'll ask
it-
anyway.
It does.
Do you have a redirect?
May I approach the witness to retrieve the affidavit?
Yes, you may. The witness is excused.